private enterprise system as a whole was what I wanted to explore in life. I immersed myself in FBLA and studied regionals. And that year, I placed in a region and made it to states. I was thrilled. Success of states was my sophomore year mission. And then the moment my life changed happened. As you can see on the screen, I was stunned because it showed me that hard work was the difference between achieving your dreams or not. I didn't have to be the smartest in my class. I didn't have to have a 4.0 GPA to achieve my dreams. And that was when my perspective on what I could do with my life changed. So I won my way to Nashville, Tennessee to compete at nationals, and I did not place that year. I was very upset. But watching Floyd wrestler who attended with me take 8th in the nation, it made me want to study harder. It made me just gear up for next year. So if we fast forward to my junior year of high school, I was elected the Northwest Village Chapter's treasurer, and I was taking on a new challenge of running for a regional office. I ran for the position of regional treasurer and I won. And thus in 1 year, I was exposing myself to multiple levels of leadership, which involved what I do most, finance and team management. And in the midst of all this, I took first in the region, first in the state, and 4th in the nation in personal finance. And it just solidified to me that not only was I insanely passionate about something, but I was finding a way to succeed at it. And for any person of any age to have an experience like that is incredible. But to have that experience at age 18 was even more sacred. And I would never have had that opportunity if it weren't for FBLA in our business department. Now it's my senior year, and I'm my chapter's president. And I'm on my way to nationals again as a senior after Nate and I took second in the state team event of banking and financial systems. I couldn't be more excited to have the opportunity to have the ability to try to get one more national title for our school in our hometown. After nationals, I will be the founder of a PBL, College Level FBLA, chapter at Hollins University, and that's the school I'll be attending this fall. But I don't think that any of us would be up here without our advisor, Mrs. Kaiser. I could never have made it this far without her. She's our business teacher, and she pushed me every single day. I have been blessed with many adults in my life, but Mrs. Kaiser has been by far my number one mentor that I remember. She is always there for me, and she holds me to exceptionally high standards, which I attribute my work ethic to in business. And she's sure to tell me the truth whenever I need to hear it. She was the mother figure that I never had, and she goes above and beyond each and every day as a teacher, a mentor, and a friend to make sure that our business program and FBLA are handled and ran with the utmost professionalism. Everybody, let's give Mrs. Kaiser a round of applause. We would like to give you guys a taste of what the state FBLA award ceremony was like for us a couple weeks ago. This was when Nate and I received our award at stage in front of 5,000 other FBLA members in Hershey, Pennsylvania. So here it is.
This time we'll have public comment on action items on the agenda to be 3 minutes per person for a total of a half an hour for comments.
Joshua Young, 603 Broad Street. I just have a question about the action items. And why is there no action item about the swearing in of Karen Ditcher Wright? When did that happen?
Mrs. Wright was sworn in by Judge Kemp.
Why was the majority not told about this? I mean, a minority of the board members not told about that.
We can't hear it, Ron. We can't hear what's going on. Could you speak up, please?
Mrs. Wright.
I'll respond again. I just want to make sure the minority board members did not know that this happened. So I'm asking Mr. Snell, why did they not get notified for this?
Why would they? She was voted on the board. Getting sworn in is just part of the process.
But shouldn't all board members be aware of that process?
I think everybody is aware of the process that they need sworn in, and that's all I'm going to say.
Mr. Snell is a minority board member, along with Mr. Conkle and Mrs. Marriott. We had no knowledge of that. Standard procedure when you welcome a new board member onto your board, you do it in a public meeting because you're proud of it. And you wanted to introduce that board member not only to the public. This wasn't done. Standard procedure wasn't done. Obviously, you don't have to do it that way, but I would like to know why you did, or why you did not at least notify the minority board members that this had occurred. Why did I have to contact you? This is not transparency.
And may I
Mr. Rodney, what does that have to do about transparency? She was voted on the board. It was part of the process for her to go get sworn in. She got sworn in when she had time by a judge so that she was ready for the next board meeting.
So what
But I
you're
think
saying
the point is that
what you're saying is that you didn't actually notify any board members, that nobody knew it. Is that right? Is that correct? None of the board members.
I didn't know it until it was done.
Did any of the board members know?
I have to ask each individual board member.
Let's hold them. Mr. Saul, did the board members ask each one individually if they had any advanced knowledge of this swearing in to take place?
And Mr. Ruffin, what is this supposed to prove?
It's supposed to prove that you have not kept one of your major campaign promises.
What?
Not only are you not transparent to the public, you're not even transparent to the board.
sworn in after being elected?
I don't believe it is standard procedure. In fact, when somebody is elected onto the board, they don't have to wait until to be sworn in at a board meeting. All they have to do, they can go to a district magistrate or a judge and get sworn in by themselves. They don't have to be in public to get sworn in. It is up to the individual how they want to get sworn in, Mr. Ruffin.
You have a question, Jen?
Well, I was just saying that the point, I believe, in my opinion, is that there are 9 members on this board, and not all 9 of us are kept in the loop of things going on. But what troubles me a little bit, I guess, is you saying that you didn't even know that she was sworn in, and why a school board member or school board president, why weren't you notified? It just doesn't seem right to me.
I was notified when it was done.
When it was done, but I'm saying prior to, I just find that unusual.
Mr. Snell. Mrs. Wright, would you please stand and introduce yourself tonight? Because obviously we're having a real problem here tonight with you being sworn in. So would you please stand and introduce yourself, because these people cannot be here swearing in.
My name is Karen Wright. I chose to get sworn in by a magistrate because of the atmosphere and the audiences. I thought that would be the best thing, so I could be on board and be prepared to come to the next meeting.
Thank you.
So I
What I have is regarding the conversation that we're having right now and the Spectrum Alliance that's on the agenda. May I speak now?
State your name and address.
My name is Catherine Burns, 219 White Church Road, Muncie, Pennsylvania. I would like to welcome the Spectrum Alliance to Montoursville Area School District. I did not have the opportunity to review your mission. However, my assumption is that it might mimic Log Cabin Republican Organization. It is the nation's largest organization of gay conservatives and allies who support fairness, freedom, and equality for all Americans. I am a member of this organization, and I have been a member for approximately 2 years, not because of sexuality, which is my business, but because I believe in the mission statement. I believe in the statement of supporting equality under the law for all, free markets, individual liberty, limited government, and a strong national defense. My hope is that the mission for the Spectrum Alliance would be in line with the Log Cabin Republicans. You were told you were invited here tonight due to an insensitive Facebook post by Karen Wright, who is the most recent school board member. The post was not the right thing to do, and it would seem Karen is a bigot. That is, she has been being called by some. This is not Karen, and she is not the person she's being made out to be. She's a fair, compassionate, knowledgeable person who has been under attack from the day she made her intentions clear that she would seek election. It is my opinion that the invitation extended to Spectrum Alliance for this evening's meeting has nothing to do with sensitivity. It has nothing to do with your lifestyle. It has nothing to do with Karen Wright. In fact, I believe your group is being used with the hope that she will resign and create an opportunity for someone more in line with the thinking of the prior board. I would like to ask Mr. McNamara why he contacted board members stating if Karen resigns, this will all go away. I would like to ask Mr. Lowe why he contacted Karen and said, do yourself a favor and resign. Do these or what? These statements clearly sound like threats to me. I would like to know, Mr. McNamara and Mr. Lowe, if you are aware of a threat to Karen's safety. I think it should be brought out in public.
No, I'm not aware of a threat to I said to her, do herself a favor, because I knew this is what she would be dealing with.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
I would say the same thing. I absolutely know nothing.
You're not aware of any threats to her safety?
Threats or safety.
Thank you. I appreciate your responses. Thank you very much. I would also like to question why the Alliance was invited to this witch hunt and not the NRA. I'm a lifetime member of the NRA. However, it was addressed briefly. A loaded gun was dropped on the floor at the last school board meeting. Why is the NRA not here teaching us sensitivity about bringing loaded guns to school? We are all taxpayers of the Montorsville School District. The hate campaign against carrying must stop.
I'm sorry, you're not.
Thank you.
There's no more comments, public comment on action items. Dr. Bauer, would you like to do the action items?
Absolutely. At this time, there are 3 action items. I do apologize. We normally don't bring action items to a work session, but we felt because of the time sensitivity of these 3 matters, we'd like your consideration for these 3. I'll do them one at a time. Number 1, request board approval of the following retirement for the member of support staff as listed for your consideration.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Questions or comments?
Robert, do we know how many years she has there? It's about 36? I believe that's correct. Thank you.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Number 2, request board approval of the following addition to the support staff substitute list for the 2014-16 school year as listed.
Questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Number 3, consider awarding the bid for Montorsville Area High School asbestos abatement to Penco Incorporated at the base bid of $46,596 for your consideration.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Questions or comments?
Yes. So how many bids were there?
4.
You were the lowest bid.
That was the lowest, right?
How close were you? Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, members of the board. As you see, there may be one additional action item, but I think that's more pertinent after the presentation.
Mr. Snell, before the presentation, could I just make a brief statement?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure how many board members took the opportunity to see this year's high school musical, Once on This Island, but I would personally like to commend Mrs. Denise Connor, her students, and all who were involved. They did an outstanding job. I was in awe of their performance, and I think they deserve some recognition. Congratulations.
Thank you,
5th place in the 2,000-meter steeplechase. And Nicole Weiser, I'm sorry if I mispronounced names, got the school record for the 1,600-meter run with a time of 5:19:54. So we'd like to congratulate her.
Now we'll have a presentation by CRA.
Okay, I'll start off. I have three things to talk about tonight. One is just a brief update on construction. This is the last 2 weeks. We have a new toy out in the back of the where the intended used to be, back of the gym, which is crusher. And we are presently crushing the results of demolition that we've been undertaking the tech ed, and that is in compliance with our LEED program. So that's why we're recycling material on site. It was, I thought, surprisingly quiet. Not too bad. So that's probably the most interesting thing that we've seen out there. But I will also say that we have started second floor joists, nearly completed A, along the deck. Concrete floors on the second floor will be placed in the near future, weather permitting, but in the very near future. We are also up against the existing building. We're down 15.5 feet to match up with the existing building. And we have new footings in, and walls are coming up, back footings coming up. So that's where the link is between building A and B and the existing building. So it's some of these are kind of milestone items. They're nice to see to this point. Since we started and nearly completed the demolition, the first foundation wall and footing on the east side of B has been extended most of the way down, as you can see. That'll be going past the cafeteria, kitchen, and back into the mechanical area, which is really the heart of that building. It's again a nice thing to see. If you're over there, if you want to know yourself a tour, and the board members, you can see now where we're starting to dig out for the lower cafeteria and kitchen areas. Soon they'll be starting to rough into the kitchen. That'll be fairly intense. Any questions about progress over there? We do have students in the tech center, the new tech building. That seems to be going fairly well. We just have a couple more things to get in there. I know Dan has ordered some equipment as well, which should be coming in here. I'm having a good time, I think, checking out the new equipment. We still have a little bit more to do as far as hookups on dust collection in the wood shop only. I'm supposed to find out when that's actually scheduled, but it should be in days, not weeks. Probably in the next week, I would guess. Startup with rooftop units over there is also taking place. That building is not LEED related, so we don't have to worry about the air quality and things like that. Again, any questions? Sure.
Dick, I have one question. I heard some people were concerned that there was fumes, and I don't know whether it came from the crusher or where it was coming from, but there was fumes going into the building.
Into the tech building, right?
No,
Into the main building?
Yes.
Okay. That hadn't caught up with me, but I'll check into it and find out what's going on. We have no dust concern, but we are sprinkling the crusher run that's out there. That's all under sprinkler right now, so you won't always has been part of the slaughter that's in the ag laboratory. We discovered before the cooler was delivered that the height was wrong. It wasn't high enough. So redid drawings, got pricing that was unacceptable to me, about $20,000. Went back, this is right, I don't know if people up here didn't know it, but south of here there's a huge snowstorm the one weekend. Well, that's the weekend we're trying to get all some of these things put in place. So we delayed a little bit from that, but at some point we finally got a drawing that Ben Heckman was good with. I reviewed it with him. Pricing came in, as I said, too high. So we went back and re-examined. We got Valley is the name of the manufacturer of the cooler. They gave us a discounted addition to the top of it. Rather than using all new, replacing everything, we actually reused all of the panels and the top, except right where the door is. The door was a standard door that was on our cooler that we had seen. It turned out we needed a much taller door, so it's a custom door. My approach to that was that I felt the school should be liable to pay for anything more than you would have paid had it been bid the correct way. So I was able to whittle this down to the point where, and I had gotten our food service consultant involved as well. So the way we ended up there was the price came from $20,000 down to $9,508. Out of that, our kitchen consultant is taking $2,035. So I'm confident that we are down at a price that is representative that I can present to this board for approval. So I would ask that you provide that approval. That would be an addition of $7,417.25.
Mr. President, I'd like a motion that we proceed with the change order $7,417.25 for the slaughterhouse walking cooler.
That was 7472.25.
25, correct.
Sure. The motion is to consider approval of a change order in the additional amount of $7,472.25. Excuse me. The logo are incorporated for revisions to the slaughterhouse walking cooler.
Questions or comments?
Can we do a roll call vote, please?
Yes, but I do have.
Sure.
When you said using the panels that we already had, you're talking about the panels for the new walk-in cooler.
That's correct.
You're talking about an old walk-in.
Good distinction, too. It was panels that had already been made. They were just too short for the size we needed. We were able to add on to those panels with a factory connection. So there's no loss in quality or structure with these. In a way, we can gain the height we need. So that we were able to reuse what had already been made.
And the door, you needed a taller door, and along with the door jambs had to be changed also.
The door side panels and the center panel on the top of them, that's gas.
Any other questions or comments? You do a roll call vote on it.
Sure. Mr. Hagemeyer?
Yes.
Mrs. Johns?
Yes.
Mr. Conkle?
Yes.
Mr. Lowe?
Yes.
Mrs. Marriott?
Yes.
Mr. McCleary?
Yes.
Mr. Ruffey? Mr. Snell?
Yes.
And Mrs. Wright?
Thank you.
Motion carries.
The third item I have has to do with processing the change orders. I had issued a pretty good email, a pretty long email, but very simply stated, we've gone through a few iterations of change order processing in the district since the project has begun. And the last motion that was made talked about potential way we could approach that. Pretty much every district out of 40 that I've worked for before have had a method like this to let these things happen. I think the way to go with this would be, I would maintain my initial approach would be to the business manager, which is Brandy, and the superintendent. Either one of whom could sort of be my gateway to certain board members. I'm recommending that the vetting process would be started that way, and then continue with, I'm suggesting 3 different board members, president, vice president, and Scott, who has been helping us with some of the buildings and grounds. It doesn't have to be those 3. That's just my suggestion right now. But I think that's a representative group. And the idea would be that we would have at least 3 board members, and possibly 4 if you want to go that way. Maybe include Bob in that too. Because a lot of times people are out of town, they're just unreachable. This way, my thought is, if reaching one of the board members and one of the administrative people, we have a chance to see what impact there might be with any particular change order. And also, only a change order that we estimate or that we think is likely to be less than $15,000. That's lower than the threshold that was originally established when we started the project. The reason I selected that number is that we have a $19,100 threshold in our PDE submissions. That, in other words, the more where we are, we have to consider that in any of these approaches. So I went to 15. That way, if our estimate's a little bit off, or if it turns out there's tax on top of that or something like that we weren't anticipating, we would still be able to proceed with it. So rather than I'm going to read the whole thing here, Bill asked me to keep it simple, and I'm trying to do that. But I would ask that, and I'm not sure how to word the motion here, but I would ask that a process like that be established, and the board vote on that. And the reason the board would be voting on it is that they're investing a certain amount of trust, a certain amount of belief in the abilities of the people that would be involved to make those evaluations on behalf of the board and to allow that to proceed on that basis. Of course, there's no limit on the contacts among board members that could be made if you want to try to gain consensus or more consensus. But that way we'll have a hierarchy established, and we'll know how we can approach it. Relative, I think it would be a relatively streamlined way to do it, but still good vetting. And it doesn't fall on any one person, which I think is something we'll avoid. So I would put that out for your consideration.
We have one. You only need one of the people listed to sign.
Well, typically the board president would actually sign a change order. Okay? Typically the board president, and this isn't a situation where I would have a change order to show somebody, but I would have a number. Okay? I would have a proposal that the change order would end up becoming. Okay? In terms of the signature, I think that's fine.
You're going to need one, is that correct?
Signature-wise, yes.
Is there any way for oversight to comply with 2 names? That put you back on the board.
That could be up to you. I mean, if you decide that's part of your process, you could adopt that.
You can add more board members, so you have a bigger pool, but you still need 2. Just fine.
I'm on board with that.
Mr. President, Bob and I attend the weekly meetings Monday mornings at 9 o'clock with him. I find it a true value. And I would like to put Mr. Logue on that list, the fact that we are typically there weekly with you. And not that we would exclude anybody, but we have the schedules right now to do that. And I can tell you, we see the frustration in the contractors of how the board's going about doing things. And I was going to get to this later, but if it's okay, I'll do it now. The frustration of the change orders are not being taken care of, the things, they're waiting on things. And we need to get away from that. You know, we're their customer. And the frustration in their face, and I think Bob would agree with me, is disappointing to me because they're waiting on us to make some decisions. And those decisions are a day late and a dollar short. So I would definitely like to add Mr. Boat to this, and I agree with the 15,000. So if you want me to make the motion, Mr. President, I would be happy to do unless Dr. Bowers, I think, has something.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is just one clarification. It would be my recommendation that even if you proceed with that change order, and that gets it done so that the timeline is pertinent, so you can go ahead and do your work. But I would still recommend that change order be brought back to the full board, just for full board clarification, so then they can actually retro that approval. It is technically a change of the contract, and any change of the contract does require a majority board vote. So my recommendation would still bring that back. You can proceed. I think having that limit, you've already said to us that approval gives us permission to move forward. But just make sure that we are legal and everything is clear on the books. I would bring it back to the full board with the full board's understanding that you've already authorized that. Really, you're just doing your due diligence to now approve it for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think I had that included in here. That would be the intent.
So I'll definitely do a motion here. Make a motion that cost of $15,000 or less to be expedited will be approved by the President, Mr. Snell, the Vice President, Mr. McQuarrie, myself, or Mr. Lowe. Basically, two of those folks can authorize to move forward, but has to come within the next board meeting, has to be brought to the full board.
I second.
And Bob, you can word that the way you want.
I might just add while Robin's putting this together. This would really apply to change order issues that require expeditious review. You know, it's not meant to be anything under $15,000 we would do this way. What it would mean is the things that we recognize need to have expeditious, sort of streamlined process. That's what this would apply to.
Here's what I got. The motion is to approve a process where costs of $15,000 or less and need expedited to be reviewed by the board president, vice president, Mr. Conkle, or Mr. Lowe, then signed by two of them and brought to full board for affirmation at the next school board meeting.
And we have a motion and a second. Before we take the vote, I need to open it up for public comment on this vote before we take this vote. Would you do a roll call vote? Gary?
Mr. Hagemeyer.
Yes.
Mrs. Johns.
Yes.
Mr. Conkle.
Yes.
Mr. Lowe.
Yes.
Mrs. Marriott.
Yes.
Mr. McCleary.
Yes.
Mr. Ruffin.
Yes.
Mr. Snell.
Yes.
And Mrs. Wright.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm here to give you an update on where we are with the cost reduction process. I previously distributed to the board where we're at with all the line items. You'll be getting a summary of shortly of what each of those cost reductions entail. Currently tonight, there is one time-sensitive object, and that is the site fencing upgrade. At the time of receipt of bids, there was an alternate to increase the cost of the project Field Stadium entrance and along Mulberry Street. That alternate was accepted. This is one of the cost reductions we are pursuing. We did receive costs back from the contractors, from the general contractor, of a deduct of $18,790 to eliminate the decorative fencing and go back to the original base bid of chain link fencing. That does include replacement of chain link fencing around Mulberry. So that is one item that we want to look at approving tonight so that the contract can remain on schedule. Also, at the next board meeting, I think you can anticipate a lot of these items that will need decisions on or actions on or guidance as far as approval. On the list I gave you previously, those items are highlighted in yellow, and those once again are time sensitive. One of those items that we're waiting on pricing from a couple of the contractors that I want to give you an update on is the 1931 Stone Building. As you recall, that was originally an alternate bid item that was not accepted. At that time, it was roughly about an $800,000 savings. That's one of the things we're currently reinvestigating and bringing back to the project, saving the 1931 Stone Building and eliminating the addition of the district administration offices. We have been in contact with the borough regarding land development impact of that change. We have been informed that we need to go back through the land development process. I think this is going to be more of an administrative process where we go through the planning commission, get their recommended approval to the borough council, and in turn the borough council approves it. Just to bring everybody back up to speed, when we investigated this as an alternate bid during the bidding process last year, we went through the land development process for this change, and it was approved by all county agencies as well as the borough at that time. That approval was contingent upon the district informing the borough which way they wanted to proceed. Of course, when the alternate was not accepted, the plan that was accepted by the borough and in turn reported was the plan without the 1931 Stone Building. So that approval of that plan with the 1931 Stone Building essentially expired 90 days after that approval. That's why they're requiring us to go back through the process. It does incur a $7,000 reapplication fee that we'll have to pursue at a later date. And we're hoping that we'll receive the other contractor change orders prior to the next board meeting so we can have a board vote at that time. Of course, at that time, we'll make any approvals contingent upon PE approval of the Part I documents and contingent upon approval of the revised land development. Also wanted to touch, we were asked to give an estimate of some of our redesign fees for some of these changes. Pretty much a lot of the things that we're going through have been more discussions with the contractors, not a lot of revisions to the documents. There has been some time, and Mr. Snell, you asked me for what we expect to date on, and I will get that for you by the next board meeting. But the big change was scenario 2. In other words, the changes to move the chorus into where the auxiliary gym is and associated changes with the center. That is the one that is the largest undertaking. I've gone to all my consultants, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, structural, civil engineering, and our acoustical consultant, and got an estimated fee. Once again, this is estimated about $56,000 to make that change. That should be far in excess of anything else we need that we're investigating along the way. I think that kind of sums it up. Once again, I think the next board meeting, I think that's when we're going to need to make decisions on a lot of the things that we have pricing coming in on. We're still waiting for pricing on other items, but I think this will be a regular occurrence where I present where we're at with these items and then move someone for approval. And then I should be able to have something to project next time for everybody to see where we're at. So at this time, like I said, the time-sensitive one is the site fencing, so it does not delay the contract. Any questions on the record cost reduction process?
We can also do
Yeah, I mean, once again, on that list that I've given you, there are multiple items that are ready to move forward for board vote should you wish. But it is, so any of those items that you want to move forward, you can if you choose to do so.
being involved with this for a year. A couple months ago, I suggested that we go ahead with the original plan exactly as it was designed. Since then, we have been looking for some cost savings, and the clock is running at CRA for all of these changes that have already been discussed. It's been gone over 2 years ago, and now we're re-engineering, and we're paying all over to re-engineer. We're losing the advantage of the competitive bid process, and we're losing the advantage of having the contractor here to do it all like it was designed. Our best value is going with the original project. There are a few exceptions. Changing the floor covering has saved some money. But all things considered, the savings are going to go away as the engineering continues to be redone. I think that the change orders and all of the things that are being discussed and being, again, re-engineered, it's going to end up the savings are not going to materialize. The contractors, the uncertainty with what's going on, with all of the things that each month now we have to approve that have already been bid on. It's already been done. And now we're doing it again. And I just think that we're losing the cost effectiveness of the original bid process. I would like to make a motion that, with the exception of the approved change orders, which we already did, which was the return ductwork and the floor covering, I suggest we go back, or I make a motion that we go back to the original plan. We're still spending $36 million. It's just that now we're not getting as much for the money. I suggest we go back to the original, or I make a motion that we go back to the original plan, which has been, there's thousands of hours put into phasing, thousands of hours put into design, and now we're starting over, and I think we're wasting the taxpayers' money. The little bit that's saved will end up being used up. All things considered, we're going to lose any cost effectiveness of the original bid process. So my recommendation, 2 months ago, I voted for, well, we didn't vote on it. I suggested we go back to the original plan. I did not vote on whatever it was called, Option 7 or Project Unity. I wasn't here for that vote. And I would have been against it as I'm against it right now. Here we are, the 1931 building. We all wanted to save, and my guts for the old building, I like the old building too. But what are we going to do with it? No one has come forward. It cannot be a responsibility of the school district. It has to end up being either free enterprise, and we don't have room for parking. We don't. So that has to be decided. What's going to be done with it? And there has been no one has come forward. There's no plan for it. It's not going to be used for administration. The new building is being built to accommodate the public. It's being built to have the versatility to be able to be used by whoever clubs are involved. And I just think that the redesign is costing us money. And I'm against it. And I did not vote for it. And I think it's something we have to really seriously consider. What's going to be done with that building? It cannot be a burden to the taxpayers. It has to be something that either stands on its own or it gets torn down. Thank you.
I'd like to ask you a direct question.
Sure.
Is the cost going to eat up the savings?
No. estimating, well, to give you an example, for the $56,000 paid for the redesign of the scenario 2, I think we were estimating about $550,000 to $750,000 in savings.
That's an estimate on your total fee for that redesign.
Correct. For that element.
For that element. Correct.
We have a second on this motion.
I will make the second on the motion.
The one other thing, again, all things considered, the contractors who now have a changed bid, they're entitled to what they expected to make. They're entitled to their expected profits. That is an unknown. The bid process provided us with knowns. The unknowns are what are going to eat up whatever potential savings we feel we're going to get.
I do agree with you, Bob. The other thing that comes to mind is in April, I believe it was April 3rd, email received from Evelyn Wynn when it was raining and she had to schedule and fix the schedule practices for all of the sporting teams. I'm just thinking, weighing the options, what is more important here? An auxiliary gym or an empty building? And for me, it's the auxiliary gym.
Mr. Snell, I have a question for you.
Hang on, Mr. Ruffey.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
How many interested parties do we have that would like to take possession of the 1931 building? How many do we have so far that have come forward?
I don't believe anybody's come forward. I believe one of the scenarios we talked about was the district offices eventually moving into part of the old 31. And I hate to step in front of you, Mr. McCleary, but I do want to ask, what is more important? And I'm talking to the whole board. What is more important? An auxiliary gym or an elementary school that needs some work done to it?
Okay, now, Mr. Snell, you're straying away from the main topic here, okay? There's no question that nobody on this board denies that Williston Valley needs work.
I
Nobody
agree.
on this board does not want work done at the Valley. So let's get right with what we're talking about right now. We're talking about the 19.
But how many years can it wait, Mr. Ruffey?
It can't really wait much longer. It really cannot.
And I agree. But look at the finances of the district. The district cannot afford to borrow more money to spend on the Valley.
Okay, so let's get back to the main topic, Mr. Snell.
I think that is the main topic.
Your answer then is we have absolutely nobody interested in the 1931 structure. Is that correct?
Has it been advertised?
I don't believe so.
But nobody. Mr. Snell, the auxiliary gym is being sacrificed for a building that it has no purpose. Okay, I love the look of the building too. I drive by it every day. It's beautiful. There's no question about it. But we're here for students first. We're not here. We're not a historical preservation society. We're a school board. And if I may, I'd like to read an email that all board members received on April 4th from Miss Evelyn Wynn, our athletic director. Before I read it, I would have to ask, did all board members that received this, was it given to all of us? On April 4th, it was a rainy day. Miss Wynn was describing the conditions that had place so teams can practice. Can all board members read that?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Hagemar?
Don't answer you.
I would like to read this email so that you can get a feel for the need for an auxiliary gym that some think that we don't need. Okay? And I will quote this up and win. Okay? Can everybody hear me? Baseball. We're supposed to have a game today, which was canceled due to softball practice at the McCall gym and track using the high school gym. They will be using, I won't mention his name, a very generous district resident. They will be using his private indoor facilities. If this is ever not an option for us, we would be paying a fee to use the Liberty Arena, making the boys have a late practice on a school night or canceling altogether. That's baseball. Softball, using the McCall gym after school. No games available for batting practice. Girls junior high soccer. Due to softball, using the McCall gym after school, they will be utilizing the wrestling room for practice. This is a space issue due to our high numbers and obviously not an ideal practice space for soccer. Boys junior high soccer. Practice canceled due to no facility available. Boys and girls track and field. Typically, I would have closed the wellness center to general use for teachers and students, as well as the gym, so the number of track participants had a place to practice if this were any other day. However, considering there is a meet tomorrow, practice is going to be late. It's going to be a late day either way. Today they're going to meet in the cafeteria due to the gym occupancy only being 49 and go over the game plan for tomorrow's meet. Afterwards, they will split up depending on their events, some using the gym or hallways, and some going outside, assuming the rain is lighter by then. If not, they will be sent home. Boys tennis, match canceled, practice canceled, with another match tomorrow. Thanks for your time. Please let me know if you have any questions. Well, I do. I have a question. When is the school board going to start putting the students and the needs of the students first and put this auxiliary gym that is badly needed back into this plan and tear down the 1931 section that nobody has any use for except to drive by and say, yes, it certainly does look nice. When are we going to put the students first? 40% of our students are engaged in some form of athletic activity here. Let's put them first. Let's do what's right and put the students first. Tear down the 1931 section, put the auxiliary gym back in, follow the original option 5 plan, quit wasting time and so much taxpayer money. And the taxpayer money wasted on this whole thing so far, you don't want to know, but I'm going to tell you. Right now, we're over $200,000, and it's going to climb. It's going to climb higher. That's the amount wasted so far. Our rejoin plans, lawsuits against the district, value engineering studies that were not needed, and on and on. The cost of the winterization project. These contractors did just go home and sit for 3 months with no cost to the district. We are over $200,000 right now down the drain, and it will continue to climb. And I will do my very best to get those numbers every week, and I will report those at every meeting what that number has climbed to. Okay.
About. You have no spreadsheets, you have no documentation whatsoever. And I would like to know when the last time you talked to Mr. Roball. Because I spoke to him yesterday, and pretty much everything you said, he refutes. So maybe you ought to call Mr. Roball and find out what's going on.
I've been to the foreman's meetings, and when I was talking about the uncertainty between the contractors, that uncertainty will show up at the end of the program with a price tag on it.
Well, that's fine, Mr. Lowe. When you get that number, you let us know. In the meantime, Mr. Lowball has given me assurance that everything is fine. We'll get back on schedule. Yes, there's going to be problems to work through, but the sky's not falling.
Okay, Mr. Rohrbach charges by the hour.
Oh, so you're accusing CRA now of being dishonest?
No, not at all.
You made a comment to Mr. Snell that we need to go to Dick and start telling the truth. Did you say that to Mr. Snell?
I was told that there was no...
No, did you say that to Mr. Snell? That we need to go to Dick and tell him to tell the truth. So that means you're telling that Dick's lying. That's what you said to Mr. Snell. Did you or didn't you, Mr. Snell?
I said that Dick said that there's going to be a charge from the people who put down the terrazzo for not doing the work.
What's that have to do with the question I asked, Mr. Lowe? It's a cost.
It's costs.
No, the question is, you're accusing CRA and Dick of not providing the board with accurate information.
No, that's not what I'm saying at all.
Well, it's to clarify your statement to Mr. Snell.
Okay, Mr. Snell.
Please, Mr. Snell, would you please express exactly what Mr. Lowe said?
Mr. Lowe told me that Dick Kastner needs to quit lying to us.
Dick, please. That was never said.
Yes, it was, Bob.
No. I said that if there's a cost, the contractor gets paid for not putting the terrazzo down. He does get paid for not putting it down, is what I said.
What's that have to do with the question, Mr. Lowe? If you have proof that Dick Kastner is lying, then I want you to put it on the table now.
Mr. Snell told me that there wouldn't be a charge. The contractor putting the terrazzo down would not get paid for his profits. I was told that he would.
Your question, so never mind. Move on. Thank you.
Okay. Am I correct in saying that when Lobar was talked to, they said that this outfit that puts down the terrazzo, they use them extensively, and that they were going to negotiate with them and say, let this one go, and we'll make sure you still do our floors, and we'll have more work for you. Am I correct in saying that?
I think that makes sense.
I mean, Dave was going to attempt to get those dropped. Am I right?
Yeah, that was the original intent, whether that happened or not.
And I realize that, but when I made the statement that they wasn't going to charge, it was the statement that Lobar was going to do everything they could to work with us and have that company overlook this project. And Mr. Ruffin, I agree with one thing you said.
What's that?
We need to start thinking about the students. And we need to think about all the students, and that includes elementary students. And I do believe health over an auxiliary gym is more important to me.
I think we missed my point. You might have missed it when I said that nobody on this board denies that a considerable amount of work needs done in the valley. Okay? We all agree on that. All right. The original plan.
We also agree that we need money.
Original plan option 5 was to take $5 million to the valley. Okay. Your plan, what you call Project Unity, was really I'm not using the original was $5 million.
No, where it comes from.
The paper. Your plan is $3 million. Okay? And by the time we get done paying all the money out that has been wasted on stopping the project for 3 months, only to find out that we were wrong and we've got restarted, lawyer fees, everything involved that I mentioned right now is over $200,000. Will climb considerably. By the time we're done paying off all that money, how much do you expect to actually have left to take out to the ballot?
Exactly. Scott, could you help us out here? I'll refer back to the question I asked you before. Are the costs going to eat up the savings?
With respect to RFP, what we're going to charge for a redesign, it all depends on, actually, it all depends on what you end up approving. If you approve nothing, then obviously our costs will exceed. Our estimate was, for the items we were investigating, right before board for discussion, was $2.5 to $3 million. Whether we'll get there or not, it's getting those estimates, we're working through that process as we speak. But to answer the direct question, our fee will not exceed the cost savings we pursue.
All things considered, your fee is only a small part of it.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Just real quick to Mr. Lowe, there is valid comment in the, in a bidding process, you get competitive nature, of course, with the contractors on the job. You're not getting dollar for dollar for these changes. That is
Thank you.
Just the terrazzo flooring. The savings on that was
$418,860.
And what is the profits on $118,860?
Referring to a contract?
Yes.
We won't see that part of the breakdown.
But
so in other words, we basically see what the credit was for the terrazzo, what the add was for the wood style flooring. What we have to compare that to, once again, is the original schedule of values, the breakdowns there, as far as what profits included in that, what they might have been paying their subcontractor who was already contracted with the firm using. We don't have that.
It's an unknown. Correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
But it'd be worthwhile spending $100,000 to save $400,000, wouldn't it?
I would say our time spent was minimal on that, maybe less than $1,000 back. Not Jeff.
Dick, you've been in the business a long time. The profits on the savings don't equal the profits, correct? Not sure. The $418,000 in savings on that change order, they definitely wouldn't have $418,000 profits. That's the stage that we can say yes.
Ron, I agreed with the terrazzo deletion.
That's just one thing, Bob. That's just one item.
With respect to the one we're talking about, it sounds like people think I said two different things. There was a statement made, I think more than once, that Lobo would try to work with their terrazzo subcontractor, because we're basically cutting all of it out, but we know that. That's Roman Mosaic out of Manhattan, and they are regular. And that is a statement that likely was made. Whether I made it or not, I don't know. But it's certainly something we would encourage them to do. Okay? We deal with Roman as well, all the time. But to Bob's question, if you remember, we had an interim book that we were looking at polished concrete floor, rather than going to the UBO floor that we ended up voting on. In the course of doing that, of course, again, that's knocking out all the terrazzo. And my understanding from that, from Logar, was that they ended up basically giving a fee to the Terrazzo subcontractor to help them walk away. Okay? So kind of everything that we've talked about here is what happened. And it's just two different conversations.
And you don't know what that fee was?
I don't.
Scott, do you know what the original, in the original contract, I realize it's $418,000 savings for Terrazzo flooring. Do you recall what the original cost of that was? I mean, the cost of that was in the original contract?
Well, we didn't have a bid breakout for that, so there'd be no way of knowing. The only thing we did have, if you recall, was the alternate to add the base bid essentially on the second and third floors was DCT and floor. We had an add alternate to Terrazzo in lieu of DCT. So that's the only value that is known. We do have the schedule of values, of course, from the contractor that we can determine what the original value of the Terrazzo project is.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Solo, please read
The motion is to go back to the original high school additions and renovations plan, except those change orders previously approved for the project.
Roll call vote.
minus Terrazzo.
Previously approved. Mr. Hagemeyer.
No.
Mrs. Johns.
No.
Mr. Conkle.
Yes.
Mr. Lowe.
Yes.
Mrs. Marriott.
Yes.
Mr. McCleary.
No.
Mr. Ruffing.
Yes.
Mr. Snell.
No.
Mrs. Wright.
No.
No.
Mr. Snell, I'd like to make a motion. If I may. I'd like to make a motion to approve a change order of the credit amount of $18,790 to Lobar Incorporated to provide chain link fencing in lieu of decorative fencing at the practice field, stadium entrance, and north end of the stadium.
Questions or comments?
Mr. Hagemeyer.
Yes.
Mrs. Johns.
Yes.
Mr. Conkle.
No.
Mr. Lowe.
No.
Mrs. Marriott.
No.
Mr. McCleary.
Yes.
Mr. Ruffing. Mr. Snell.
Yes.
Mrs. Wright.
Motion carries.
Mr. Snell, if I make one more motion, please. I'd like the motion to approve a change order in the credit amount of $12,100 to Lobar Incorporated to eliminate painting of storage and mechanical rooms.
Questions or comments? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Hagemeyer.
Yes.
Mrs. Johns. Mr. Conkle.
No.
Mr. Lowe.
No.
Mrs. Marriott.
No.
Mr. McCleary.
Yes.
Mr. Ruffing.
No.
Mr. Snell.
Yes.
Mrs. Wright.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Mr. Snell, I have a question. You shot down, no, you did, the Georgia board just shot down a motion to put badly needed auxiliary gym into this new project. In place, we'd like to keep a 1931 building that we have no use for. When is this board, if ever, going to put the needs of the students first instead of the nostalgia that some people want to hold on to forever. When are we going to start looking forward, stop looking back? It should be quite obvious that when this board is no longer and a new board comes into place, they will do that. They will have the sense, they will have the vision, they will have the foresight that they will place an auxiliary gym somewhere in this building. It will not be as well placed because it's not in these original plans now. It will be done at a higher cost. The 1931 structure will be torn down by the next school board. My question is this, you know what? I'm sick of it, I'm fed up. When are we going to do what's right for the students and serve their needs first? I mentioned 40% of them are engaged in athletic activities. Isn't that important? I mean, doesn't that matter? You know, what does matter?
Mr. Ruffin, I'd like to bring your attention to an article, May 7th, 2013, where you were running for school board director, and you stated, as a school director, you would consider both what is necessary for the district and the taxpayers' pocketbook.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I said. That's exactly what I said. And my point is, it will be done later at a higher cost because we didn't, because you and your group that followed you so blindly didn't do it.
I am speaking.
I'm speaking. You cut me off. All right? It will be done later at a higher cost. That's my point.
Fine, you happy with that?
No, I'm just talking.
I'll take your point. We got to move on. We have another presentation. The vote's been taken. It's not going to happen right now. Okay, you made your point. You want the gym.
That's unfortunate.
Okay, you made your point.
That's unfortunate.
Everybody here,
you would prefer the gym over the health of elementary students.
That's not what he's doing out in the battle. What I'm saying is, when
is the money going out to the valley, Mr. Ruffin?
What's the cost to keep the 1931 section, and what is the cost to maintain
The
that
savings
building?
is approximately 701,000 in savings. Read what's in front of you, Mr. Ruffin.
Saving the money did not tear it down. $700,000 did not demolish it. The 1931 section. What's the cost to maintain it?
Mr. Snell, would you please get back on the agenda? The vote's been taken. Mr. Ruffin's made his point. We have other business to conduct, okay?
If you want to cuddle with me, at least buy me dinner.
We now have a presentation by Reynolds Building Solutions. They did a study in the valley to basically see if things that are needed done at the valley, if the energy savings per year we pay to have the needed things done at the valley.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening. My name is Rob Strickland from Reynolds. As so succinctly stated, we did a study in the valley. We were asked to take a look at the building and determine whether or not an energy savings project could be done there that would help finance a significant part of the construction. And so that is what we're here to present this evening. Before we get into that, though, I didn't want to assume that everybody knows. Sorry. Apologize. I thought I was loud enough that everybody could hear me anyway. But I didn't want to assume that everybody here knows who Reynolds is. Some of you may or may not be familiar familiar with us. So just wanted to take a moment to tell you a little bit about who we are. As I said, my name is Rob Strickler. I'm Director of Business Development with Reynolds. I've been with the company for 16 years. With me, I have Rick Evans. He's the President of our Energy Services Division. Rick has over 30 years of experience in a variety of construction, MEP engineering, design, and energy projects. So Rick is the gentleman who walked through the building with me and did the evaluation. So he is going to speak a little more to that in a moment. But Reynolds companies, really, K-12 construction is what we do. About 80% of our projects here in Pennsylvania on a year-to-year basis are with schools. We have over 100 employees in various disciplines, and we're headquartered in Harrisburg with branch offices in Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and Maryland. Some of the things we do for our clients, energy services, as we're here to talk about this evening, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, design, engineering, commissioning, construction management, and heaven forbid, fire, water, and wind damage restoration. My final slide here in the early going is this map of Pennsylvania. Shows a whole bunch of little bars. Those are all projects that we've done in the area. Some non-K-12 projects we're working on right now in the area are the Williamsport Airport, as well as some projects with River Valley Transit. So we know school construction. We've done it since 1994. Over 200 projects with more than $2 billion. So we come at this from a long-standing history of our industry. So with that, I'm going to turn the mic over to Rick. He's going to talk a little bit about the building itself.
Thanks, Rob. As Rob mentioned, several weeks ago, we were invited out to take a walk through the building, take a look. It's going to spend a couple of minutes going over our findings and some recommendations for it. First place we always start when we do a project like this is with benchmarking the energy use. If you're very quickly, if you look at the very top of the blue chart there, that's the average school in Pennsylvania. The lower chart is lowest cycle elementary school. Basically what this chart is telling us is that the school is relatively energy efficient as it is. So it's not using a ton of energy. So the short answer to